I was standing in the cold parking lot outside St. Mary's at 11:45 p.m., waiting for the final Christmas Mass to begin. My daughter, Lily, had just handed me a steaming cup of cocoa, smiling like everything was normal. Then she slipped a folded note into my hand. I unfolded it, my hands trembling. In small, neat letters, it read, "Don't trust Dad tonight." My heart stopped. The pews inside St. Mary's were nearly empty when I stepped in, the soft glow of candles reflecting off the polished wood. I tucked Lily's note into my coat pocket, trying to act casual, but every step made my pulse race. The choir was rehearsing quietly, voices melding into a gentle hum, and the priest was already adjusting his robes at the altar. I kept glancing at the door, half expecting him to appear. Lily slid into the pew beside me, her hand brushing mine briefly. "Everything okay, Dad?" she whispered, her voice light, but there was an edge I couldn't ignore. I smiled, forced and hollow. "Of course, honey. Just excited for Mass." She nodded, but her eyes stayed sharp, darting around the church as if scanning for danger. I wanted to ask what she meant, but the words stuck in my throat. The first hymn began, and I tried to focus, letting the melody wash over me. But my thoughts kept straying back to the note. "Don't trust Dad tonight." My own father. My daughter's father. That phrase looped in my head, twisting and burning with every beat of my heart. What had he done? Why now? On Christmas Eve, when we were supposed to be safe, halfway through the service, the church doors opened. A gust of cold air swept through, carrying the faint smell of snow and exhaust from the street. I turned, and there he was. My ex-husband, Thomas, wearing a long coat, his expression unreadable, eyes scanning the pews like a predator. He spotted me almost immediately, and his lips twitched into a smirk. My stomach sank. Lily squeezed my hand, and I realized she was holding back a tremor of fear, the same one I felt knotting in my chest. After Mass, people started filing out, candles extinguished, voices murmuring "Merry Christmas" to each other. I lingered, hoping to make it past him unnoticed. But he moved faster than I expected, closing the distance between us in a few long strides. "David," he said, voice smooth but low, "we need to talk." My pulse jumped, and I stepped back instinctively. "Not now," I replied. He chuckled, like he'd been expecting that, and nodded toward Lily. "Your daughter looks like she's worried," he said. "I wouldn't want her scared, would I?" His words dripped with something I couldn't place, threat, maybe, or just cruel amusement. I clenched my fists in my coat pockets, trying to steady my voice. "Leave us alone. Tonight isn't the night." He tilted his head, his gaze piercing, and the smile never left his face. "Oh, but it is." I felt Lily press closer to me, and I knew she had heard him. My mind raced. Was the note a warning or a trap? I had spent years thinking he was out of our lives, that his manipulations were behind us. But here he was, in the middle of Christmas Eve, making it clear he hadn't forgotten how to get under my skin. I wanted to yell, to storm off, but Lily's hand on my arm held me back. She knew something I didn't yet, and I had to trust her instinct. We slipped out the side door to avoid him. The snow was falling harder now, tiny crystals catching the dim street lights. Lily walked close, voice barely audible over the wind. "Dad, he's dangerous tonight. I don't know why, but he's planning something." I swallowed hard. "Lily, you have to trust me," I said, though doubt gnawed at the edges of my certainty. She shook her head, eyes wide. "I am trusting you, but we don't have time." The walk home was tense, every shadow under the street lamps feeling like it could be him waiting to strike. I kept my coat wrapped tight, eyes scanning, mind spinning. I tried to piece together what Lily had seen or heard that prompted her note. Was it a phone call? Something overheard? Or had she just sensed his presence, the way children do when danger is near? By the time we reached the driveway, my chest felt tight, the snow crunching under our feet like the ticking of a clock I didn't want to hear. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The Christmas tree lights twinkled, ornaments reflecting in Lily's eyes, but it felt wrong somehow. I checked the locks on the doors, the windows, everything twice, but the unease lingered. Lily lingered in the doorway, clutching the note. "He's not just coming for words, Dad," she said, voice trembling. "He's coming for us." My stomach dropped. I sank into the armchair near the fireplace, trying to calm myself. "Okay," I said finally, meeting her gaze. "We plan, we watch. We don't act until we know exactly what he wants." She nodded, but the fear in her eyes didn't disappear. Then, suddenly, a sound from the front door, a soft tap, tap, made both of us freeze. I held my breath. Lily's hand gripped mine tighter. "He's here," she whispered. I stood slowly, forcing calm into my voice. "Stay behind me." The note, still in her hand, was our warning and our guide, and I had no idea if it was enough. Outside, the shadows shifted under the dim porch light, and I realized the night was far from over. Whatever Thomas had planned, this was only the beginning, and Christmas Eve would never feel safe again. I edged toward the front door, each step slow but deliberate, every nerve on high alert. Lily stayed behind me, clutching the note like it was a lifeline. "Dad. He has the spare key," she whispered. My stomach sank. Of course he did. He always had a way of slipping into our lives when we least expected it. I reached for the doorknob, tried to steady my shaking hand, and paused. "If he comes in, we don't run," I murmured. "We make him regret it." The tap, tap, tap came again, softer this time, almost deliberate. I pressed my ear to the door, straining to hear over the pounding of my heart. There was a faint shuffle, then a whisper, almost inaudible. "David." My name drawn out, familiar yet coded in something dangerous. I drew in a slow breath and swung the door open, careful, peering out into the snow-covered porch. Empty. For a heartbeat, relief threatened to wash over me. Then a shadow shifted, and I froze. From the corner of the porch, Thomas stepped forward, hands in his coat pockets, expression calm, almost casual. "Evening, David," he said, voice low, deliberate. I thought we could have a little chat. My pulse spiked. "It's late. Christmas Eve." "You shouldn't be here," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Lily appeared behind me, her small frame trembling. Thomas's eyes flicked toward her, and I felt the familiar chill that always came with him being near. He wasn't just here to talk. I stepped in front of Lily. "What do you want?" My voice held more strength than I felt. He smirked. "I just want what's mine. You know, what's owed to me." My mind raced. What could he mean? Money? Revenge? Both? He always had a way of twisting situations, so it looked like everyone else was in the wrong. Lily gripped my coat sleeve. "Dad, he's lying," she whispered. I didn't answer, just kept my gaze on Thomas. He took a slow step closer, and my instinct screamed. "Don't," I said. But he ignored me, still smiling that same dangerous smile. "You really think hiding behind a Christmas tree and cocoa will stop me?" he said, voice soft but sharp. I clenched my fists. "This ends tonight, Thomas. Whatever you're planning, it ends now." He tilted his head. "Oh, it's already begun." I noticed the faint scuff marks on the porch, shoes not boots, tracking snow into the house. My heart dropped. He'd been inside before. Somehow, he'd been here. I realized then why Lily had been so insistent. This wasn't just a visit, it was a setup. "Lily," I said, voice low, "take the note, put it in your pocket. Remember every detail, every step he takes. Don't let him know you're scared." She nodded, eyes wide, holding the folded paper tightly. Thomas's hand brushed against the doorframe, slow, deliberate. I see you've got my little daughter with you. How sweet. My blood boiled. Stay away from her, I said, stepping closer, trying to create space. His smirk widened. Oh, David, I'm not going to hurt her. Not yet. I need to talk to you first. I wanted to argue, to fight, to shove him into the snow and lock the door behind him. But I knew better. I had to play this carefully, or everything would spiral out of control. He stepped inside, glancing around as if the house itself were his. I tried to keep my composure, but every fiber of me screamed danger. You don't get to just show up, I said. Not here, not now. Thomas's eyes glinted. You think the world works that way? That people just obey rules? Tonight, Christmas Eve, rules don't apply. I swallowed hard. He had the same effect on me every time. Calm, confident, terrifying. Lily stayed behind me, quiet, observing every move. She had grown up fast, sharper than I remembered. Especially around him, I whispered. If he tries anything, I need you to run to the bedroom and lock the door. Got it? She nodded, though her lips trembled. He noticed her hesitation and chuckled softly. You're teaching her well, David. But teaching won't save her tonight. I clenched my jaw. His words were a challenge, a threat, and I couldn't let him see I was scared. He wandered into the living room, hands brushing the mantel. He paused at the family photos, pointing casually. Funny, isn't it? All these happy memories makes me wonder how long they'll last. My heart pounded. He was trying to provoke me, to make me react. I took a measured breath. We're not scared of you. He tilted his head, studying me. Are you sure about that? A loud knock at the back door made us all jump. I froze, staring at him. He glanced toward the sound, smirk fading for just a moment. Expecting someone? I asked, voice tight. Maybe, he said softly. Voice low, like a whisper meant only for me. Then he laughed, a short, cruel sound, and moved toward the hallway. I realized he was testing me, seeing if I'd follow, seeing if I'd make a mistake. Lily clutched the note again, eyes wide. Dad, she whispered. He's moving toward the kitchen. That's where the safe is. He's after it. My stomach dropped. I had forgotten. The safe, the documents I'd been keeping hidden, the proof that could protect us. Thomas always knew where everything important was. I had to act. Slowly, I edged toward him, pretending to stretch, watching his every move. David, he said suddenly, spinning toward me. I know you've got something hidden. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. His tone wasn't angry. It was controlled, deliberate, as if he were savoring a long game. I realized then that he wasn't here just for confrontation. He wanted leverage, proof, something he could use against me. I had to think fast. I kept my eyes on him, moving subtly to block his path to the safe. You won't get it, I said quietly, trying to sound calm, measured. He smirked. We'll see about that. Then, without warning, he lunged toward the kitchen counter, and I grabbed his arm. A brief struggle ensued. Our faces close, eyes locked. I could smell the faint scent of his cologne, familiar yet threatening. Lily gasped, clutching the note even tighter, fear and anticipation twisting in her expression. Thomas pushed back, forcing me against the wall. You think you can stop me? He growled. I've done worse, David. You know I have. I forced my arms around his, holding firm. Not tonight, I said, voice shaking, but strong. He froze for a second, surprise flickering in his eyes. Then he smiled, almost admiringly. You're still stubborn, he said, stepping back slightly. I like that, but stubbornness won't save you this time. I backed toward Lily, keeping him in view, my mind racing. Every second counted. Every misstep could be disastrous. I realized then that this night was no longer about a conversation, no longer about threats. It was survival, protecting Lily, protecting myself, protecting the proof hidden in that safe. All of it mattered now, and Thomas had made it clear. He wouldn't stop until he got what he wanted. The room felt smaller, heavier, the tension suffocating. Thomas's eyes scanned everything, lingering on the Christmas tree, the mantle, the photographs, the note Lily still clutched. I realized he was calculating, planning his next move, watching for weakness. "Dad?" Lily whispered, voice trembling. "He's not leaving without it." I nodded, swallowing hard. "I know," I said, "but neither are we." And in that instant I understood something crucial. Christmas Eve was no longer a night of peace. It was a battleground, and we had no choice but to fight. Thomas stood in the living room, hands in his pockets, tilting his head as if he were amused by a private joke. I stayed in front of Lily, heart hammering, mind racing. "You really think you can stop me, David?" he asked, casually, voice soft but laced with danger. I swallowed, and squared my shoulders. I have to, for her. Lily's grip on my coat tightened, and I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down like snow on a roof. He circled the room slowly, eyes flicking to every corner. "All these years," he murmured, almost to himself, "and you've hidden so much. I have to admit, I underestimated you." I forced a laugh, sharp and hollow. "Guess that's your first mistake." He stopped, staring at me directly, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of something familiar in his eyes, remorse, maybe, but it vanished instantly, replaced by that cold, calculated stare. Lily's voice broke the tension. "Dad, he's moving again, toward the hall." I glanced toward the hallway and saw him reach for the door frame, testing the lock. That's when I realized he wasn't just threatening, he was planning a route, a way to isolate us and take control of the house. My mind raced. I needed a plan, fast. "Lily, behind me. Remember every step he takes?" I whispered, heart pounding. She nodded, still clutching the note as if it could shield us from what was coming. Thomas stepped closer, tilting his head. "You've got that safe, don't you?" I felt my stomach knot. He always knew. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Sure you do," he replied, voice calm, teasing almost. "But tonight, it's not about lies, it's about choices. And you're running out of time." He moved toward the hallway again, deliberate, slow, testing my reactions. I followed, careful, keeping Lily behind me, eyes locked on him. I said, "Don't go near the safe," I warned. He smirked. "Ah, David. Still trying to control everything. That's cute." He reached for the hall closet where I'd stashed emergency keys and documents, and my blood ran cold. I lunged, grabbing his wrist. He shrugged me off easily, like he expected the resistance. "Nice try," he said, voice almost gentle. "But you can't protect her forever." My mind flashed to the note again. "Don't trust Dad tonight." Lily's handwriting was so precise, almost eerie in its clarity. How had she known? And what exactly was he planning? I could feel the trap closing, the walls of the house suddenly shrinking around us. I realized I had to force a confrontation on my terms, or we'd be at his mercy. My pulse raced, calculating the risks, weighing every second. He stepped back, watching me, eyes narrowing. "You're thinking too much, David. Tonight isn't about thinking. It's about decisions, and decisions can be fatal." I clenched my fists. "Try me," I said. My voice carried more confidence than I felt. Lily's eyes widened, and I saw the flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could outsmart him. Thomas laughed softly, pacing again. "You really think you're ready for this? That you can keep your daughter safe while keeping your secrets intact?" His gaze flicked toward the tree, toward the mantle. I realized then, he knew everything, every hiding place, every document, every key. He had been planning this for weeks, maybe months, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. I edged toward the hallway, positioning myself between him and the rooms that mattered most. Lily followed, silent, alert. "Dad," she whispered. "He's going to try the basement next." My stomach dropped. The basement held files, memories, everything that proved what he'd done. If he reached them, we'd lose control completely. I nodded. "We're not letting that happen," I said, firmly, my voice steadier than I felt. "I don't." Thomas paused, as if reading my determination, and smiled. "Oh, I love that fight in you. It reminds me of why I married you. But tonight, I win." He lunged faster than I expected toward the basement door. I grabbed the handle first, yanking it closed just as he reached it. The door rattled under his weight. His laugh, echoing like a warning. "Nice try," he hissed. "But I always find a way." Lily pressed close, voice trembling. "Dad, what do we do?" I swallowed hard, scanning the room. Every option felt dangerous. But I realized then that confrontation wasn't enough. We needed strategy, deception, I whispered to her. "Follow my lead. Don't break. Don't panic. Just watch him and be ready to act." She nodded, eyes wide but steady. I could see the gears turning in her head. She was learning. Fast. Thomas shifted his stance, pacing again, eyes never leaving mine. "You know," he said softly, almost conversationally, "I never wanted it to come to this, but you've forced my hand. Choices, David. Tonight they define us." I kept my hands relaxed, but ready, watching, waiting for the moment I could turn the table. "We're not afraid of you," I said, though my heart was pounding and my mind raced through contingencies. He stopped abruptly, tilting his head. "Do you hear that?" he asked. I froze. A faint sound, almost imperceptible over the wind and the creaking house. Another knock from the back door, different from the first. My pulse spiked. "Who is it?" I whispered, not daring to move. Thomas smiled, knowingly. "Exactly what I wanted you to ask." Lily squeezed my arm, whispering, "Dad, it's him. He's going to be." I cut her off gently. "Not yet. Watch and wait." My mind spun. The next few seconds would decide everything. Thomas, confident, calm, terrifying, was about to make his move, and we had only one chance to stay ahead. I realized in that instant Christmas Eve would never be the same. The quiet, the lights, the cocoa, all of it had been a mask. Now the real game had begun. The basement door rattled again, heavier this time. Thomas's laugh, soft, cold, filled the room. He was testing, probing, looking for weakness. My hands itched to act, but I had to wait for the perfect moment. Lily's eyes met mine, full of fear and determination. We were a team now, bound together by necessity, and I knew if we failed, tonight would end in disaster. I edged closer to the door, ready to strike, ready to defend, heart hammering. Now Thomas took a step forward, and in that heartbeat I realized the fight wasn't just about the house, the files, or the proof. It was about control, about power, about him proving he could break me. I swallowed, steeling myself. Whatever happened next, I would not let him win. Not tonight, not ever. The shadow shifted. The house seemed smaller, tighter, the snow outside falling like a silent witness. And then Thomas made his move. Fast, deliberate, deadly. Thomas lunged toward the basement door again, faster this time, and I met him with everything I had, grabbing his arm and yanking him back. He staggered slightly, eyes flashing with surprise and irritation, but his smirk never faltered. "Clever," he said softly, voice dripping amusement. But cleverness only delays the inevitable. My muscles burned from holding him, but I refused to let go. Lily pressed closer behind me, clutching the note like a shield. "You don't get it, Thomas," I said, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Tonight you won't touch that basement." He tilted his head, evaluating me, as if weighing whether I could back up my words. You've always underestimated me, David. You think you can keep your secrets safe from me? I know everything. The weight of those words hit me like a punch. He did know everything. That's why this note, Lily's warning, was so critical. The wind outside rattled the windows, faint but insistent, as if echoing the tension in the house. Thomas circled slowly, testing my stance, every movement calculated, like a predator studying its prey. You know, he said softly, almost conversational, I never wanted to scare her, but she's part of this now, isn't she? I felt Lily shrink slightly behind me, but she stayed, eyes sharp and attentive. I could see her mind racing, trying to anticipate his next move. Thomas's hand brushed against the door frame again. Deliberate, teasing, testing me. You've got guts, David. I'll give you that. But guts don't save you from consequences. I clenched my jaw, holding firm. Consequences are on you if you try anything. His laugh was low, cruel, but beneath it, I sensed curiosity. He wasn't just trying to intimidate, he was trying to measure me, see if I would crack. I edged slightly toward the hallway, positioning myself between him and the rooms with the most important items. Lily followed, whispering, "Dad, he's moving toward the study." My stomach dropped. The study held files, evidence, everything that proved Thomas's past manipulations and lies. If he reached it, we'd lose any advantage. I took a slow breath and whispered back, "Not if we act first." Thomas paused, tilting his head as he scanned the living room. "Always calculating," he said softly. "I used to admire that about you. Now, it just makes tonight interesting." My blood ran cold. He was enjoying this, feeding off the tension, feeding off our fear. I felt a surge of determination. Lily's eyes met mine, full of trust, and I realized we had to turn this game around and fast. He stepped closer, hands slightly raised, still keeping the air of calm control. "I know the safe is hidden behind the painting in the study," he said casually, almost conversationally. I froze. He had always been precise, knowing exactly where to strike. I edged toward him subtly, keeping my hands ready, watching for a moment of weakness. "Not tonight," I said, voice low, trying to mask the panic rising in my chest. Thomas tilted his head and studied me, expression unreadable. "You really think a few walls, a locked door, and your clever little daughter will stop me?" I forced a laugh, shaky but defiant. "You're underestimating both of us." He smirked. "Underestimating? David, I've spent years watching every move you made. Don't think for a second I'm unprepared." Lily whispered again, urgency in her voice. "Dad, he's trying to distract you. Look at the tree. The mantle. He's setting a trap." My stomach tightened. I realized she was right. The way he circled, the pauses, the glances, it wasn't just intimidation. He was creating openings, waiting for me to make a mistake. I tightened my grip on my own resolve. Tonight, we couldn't make mistakes. Thomas moved toward the hallway again, deliberate, slow, testing my reactions. "I've always loved this time of year," he said softly, almost fondly. "So quiet, so predictable, until now." I felt my stomach knot. He wasn't just here to take the safe or scare us. He was here to unsettle every sense of security we had, to make us doubt ourselves, to control the narrative. I edged toward the study door, positioning myself strategically. Lily stayed close, whispering instructions based on her observation. "Dad, he's reaching for the handle." I froze, calculating my next move. Thomas grasped the doorknob lightly, testing it, and I realized then that this confrontation had become a chess game, each move deliberate, each second critical. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Thomas, stop," I said, voice steady but firm. "If you go in there, you'll regret it." He glanced at me, eyes flicking with amusement. "David, I always regret nothing, and tonight I take what's mine." His tone was soft but lethal, a quiet promise of chaos. The study door rattled under his touch. Lily pressed closer to me, eyes wide, and I realized the gravity of the moment. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was a test of our wits, our courage, and our ability to survive a night that had started like any other Christmas Eve, but had spiraled into a battle for control. Thomas pulled the door handle slowly. I lunged forward, blocking him, gripping his wrist tightly. He staggered slightly, caught off guard, but his smirk never faltered. "Nice try," he whispered, voice low, almost admiring, "but cleverness only delays the inevitable." My jaw clenched. He was right. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I backed toward the center of the room, keeping Lily safe, watching for the moment I could turn the tide. Thomas's eyes scanned the surroundings, noting every detail, every possible advantage. I realized then that this night would test everything I thought I knew about him, about myself, and about the bond between me and my daughter. He took a step back, breathing slowly, deliberately. "I love the fight in you," he said softly, almost nostalgically. "Reminds me why I stayed around as long as I did." My chest tightened. He was playing with us, feeding off the tension, savoring every second of our fear. But I couldn't let him see that. I swallowed hard, keeping my eyes locked on his. "This ends tonight," I said, voice low but unwavering. "You get nothing from me, nothing from her, nothing from this house." He paused, tilting his head, evaluating. "Bold words," he said softly, almost like a warning, "but bold words don't change reality. And tonight, reality is mine to shape." The snow outside continued to fall, silent and relentless, as if mirroring the tension in the house. The basement, the study, the safe, they were all battlegrounds now, and every moment counted. I felt the weight of the note in Lily's hand, our only guide in a night that had turned into a fight for survival. Thomas shifted, eyes narrowing slightly. "So David, what's your next move?" I took a slow breath, muscles tensed, mind calculating. "We wait for you to make a mistake," I replied. "And when you do, we take control." He smirked, almost pleased. "I was hoping you'd say that. Makes this game far more interesting." And with that, he stepped back, eyes still on us, smile never fading. But I knew the night was far from over. Every second brought new danger, every movement a potential disaster. And in that moment I realized that Christmas Eve, which had begun with cocoa and quiet prayers, had become a battle we could not afford to lose. Thomas didn't move for a moment, just stood there, smirk curling on his lips, as if enjoying the tension like a cat with a mouse. I kept my body tense, eyes locked on him, heart hammering. Lily stayed behind me, clutching the note, like it was the only thing keeping us tethered to safety. "Dad, he's going for the basement again," she whispered. My stomach tightened. That was the one place we couldn't afford him to reach. I edged forward slowly, putting myself directly between him and the basement door. "Stop," I said firmly, voice low but unwavering. Thomas tilted his head, pretending to consider my warning. "Stop? Oh, David, you really think a word from you can make me stop?" His eyes flicked toward the basement, calculating, deliberate. He knew it was critical, and he wanted to see how I would respond. I felt Lily press close to me, and I whispered, "Stay calm, watch him. Remember everything." She nodded, lips trembling, eyes scanning every subtle movement he made. Thomas smirked at her, clearly aware of her presence, but ignoring the caution. "Your daughter's sharp," he said softly, voice almost approving. "She reminds me of someone I used to know. Clever, cautious, brave. Too bad she's with you instead of me." My blood ran cold. He wasn't just threatening, he was planting doubt, testing our emotions, trying to unsettle us from the inside. "You'll get nothing," I said firmly. trying to mask the fear rising in my chest. Tonight ends here, he laughed softly, a low, almost musical sound that made my stomach twist. Ends here? Oh, David. The night has only just begun. You think you know what's coming, but you don't. He moved a step closer to the basement. Slow, deliberate, like every motion was part of a strategy I couldn't yet see. I stepped in front of him, keeping my hands ready, trying to make him hesitate. This is your last chance, I said. Voice steady though my heart threatened to burst. Go back. Leave us alone. He tilted his head, studying me as if weighing whether I was bluffing. Then he smirked. Almost delighted. Oh no, David. I get to decide that. Lily pressed herself closer, whispering. Dad, he's stronger than you think. I nodded, acknowledging the truth of it. Thomas had always been stronger, faster, smarter in these confrontations, but I had something he didn't. The element of unpredictability. The note Lily had given me was more than a warning. It was a lifeline, a guide to staying one step ahead. I had to trust it. He reached for the basement handle. Slow, deliberate. My muscles tensed. Not tonight, I said. He froze for a heartbeat, then shrugged lightly, as if that word had no meaning. I admire your determination, he said softly. Really I do, but determination doesn't change reality. He gave a small push on the door. I grabbed it, yanking it back. Snow drifted in faintly from the crack, swirling like tiny specters in the dim light. Thomas stumbled slightly, more from surprise than force. Clever, he muttered. Almost a compliment. I held firm. Clever enough to stop you. His eyes flicked to Lily. She's observant, isn't she? Watches everything. Remembers every detail. That's dangerous for me. My chest tightened. He wasn't wrong. Lily was smart, brave, and she was my responsibility tonight. I had to protect her at all costs. The living room felt smaller, tighter, every shadow seeming to hold a threat. Thomas circled slowly, calculating, waiting, looking for an opening. I held my ground, muscles coiled, mind racing. Then he paused, glancing toward the fireplace, toward the mantel, toward the note Lily still clutched. You're both very cautious, he said. Voice low, but that won't save you, Lily whispered. Dad, he's testing us. He wants us to make the first move. I nodded subtly. She was right. Every subtle step he took, every pause was designed to lure me into a reaction, to make me show weakness. I had to wait. Patient, calculating, every second stretching, building tension. He wouldn't expect me to act until I knew exactly what his plan was. Thomas stepped closer again. Casual, smiling, his confidence radiating. You know, I could take that safe right now, he said, glancing toward the hallway, and you'd do nothing. You'd just watch, paralyzed by fear. I felt my stomach twist. Fear? Maybe. But I had determination too, and I wasn't about to let him control the night. I shifted slightly, edging closer to him, holding his gaze. You'll never take it, I said firmly. He smirked. Oh, David, never is a long time. But tonight, I might just succeed. He was teasing, manipulating, trying to destabilize us. I could feel Lily tense behind me. Dad. He's dangerous, she whispered again. I nodded, voice low. I know, honey. But we're ready. The basement door rattled again, heavier this time. He pushed, testing, threatening, seeing if I'd give in. I braced myself, holding firm. Not happening, I muttered under my breath. Thomas chuckled softly. A low, dark sound. You're strong, he said almost admiringly. I'll give you that. But strength only delays the inevitable. I edged toward the hallway again, positioning myself strategically, every step careful. Lily followed, her eyes sharp, lips pressed together. She understood the stakes now. understood that every second, every movement, every word mattered. Thomas's gaze followed us, calculating, predicting, always anticipating the next move. And then, without warning, he lunged, not for the door, not for the safe, but directly for me, forcing me to react instantly. I grabbed him, twisting, pushing back with everything I had. Lily screamed, clutching the note to her chest. The struggle was brief, intense, and exhausting, but it bought us time we needed to plan our next move. Thomas stepped back, smirk never fading, breathing evenly. "Clever," he muttered. "Very clever. But cleverness only delays the inevitable. You can't protect her forever, David. Sooner or later, I get what's mine." My chest burned from the adrenaline, but I held firm, looking him in the eyes. "Not tonight," I said. "Tonight, it ends differently." And in that instant I realized this night, this Christmas Eve, would define everything. Not just for me, not just for Lily, but for Thomas too. The game had begun, and neither of us would back down. The basement, the safe, the secrets, they were all pieces in a battle we could not afford to lose, and we had only begun to fight. Thomas's smirk never faltered, but his eyes sharpened as he circled the living room again, testing the boundaries, watching for any hesitation. I stayed directly between him and the basement, muscles coiled, mind racing. Lily pressed close, her hands clutching the note like a talisman. "Dad, he's going to try the hall closet next," she whispered, voice trembling. I swallowed hard. The closet held more documents, backups, things I'd hidden for years. If he reached them, our advantage vanished. Hall closet, basement, study. "You've got a lot of treasures hidden in this house, David," Thomas said softly. Voice calm, deliberate. "Funny how you think walls and locks can protect you. Secrets don't stay buried forever." I felt the weight of every Christmas Eve memory crashing down, the cocoa, the candles, the lights, all now a fragile mask over the storm of danger inside our home. I had to act before his plan fully unfolded. He stepped closer to the hallway, deliberate, testing my reactions. "You're very stubborn," he said, almost fondly. "I'll give you that, but stubbornness doesn't change reality." I clenched my fists. "Not tonight." Lily's eyes were wide, every instinct in her body screaming. I whispered, "Stay calm. Watch him. Wait for the opening." She nodded, gripping the note tighter, as if it could shield us from the danger. Thomas's hand brushed against the hall door. Slow, deliberate. He paused, studying me, weighing his options. "You know," he said softly, "I could take the documents, the safe, the proof right now, and you'd do nothing. You'd just let me." My chest tightened. "Not happening," I said, voice low but firm. He smirked, almost pleased. "You're clever? That makes this more fun. But cleverness only delays the inevitable." Lily whispered again, urgency in her voice. "Dad, he's testing us. He wants us to move first." I nodded subtly. She was right. Every subtle step he took, every pause was designed to provoke me, to make me show fear, to force a mistake. I couldn't give him that. I had to wait, patient, calculating, every second, stretching into a tense silence. Thomas took a slow step toward the hall closet. My muscles tensed, every nerve alert. "Do you know," he said softly, "I've always admired your sense of order, how you hide things so carefully. Almost poetic." I clenched my jaw. His words weren't compliments, they were warnings. He had studied me, anticipated my moves, and tonight he would exploit anything he could. I edged slightly, positioning myself to block him from the closet. Lily stayed close, her breath shallow, eyes wide. "Dad, he's reaching for it," she whispered. I braced myself, muscles coiled, ready to react. Thomas grasped the doorknob lightly, testing it. I lunged, yanking it back. Snow drifted in faintly from the crack, swirling in the dim light like tiny specters in the room. Thomas stumbled slightly, more from surprise than strength, but his smirk never faded. "Clever," he muttered, voice low, almost approving. "But cleverness only delays the inevitable." I swallowed hard. He was right. We couldn't keep this up forever. The question was, could we buy enough time to turn the tide? He circled slowly, eyes flicking to every corner, calculating, always anticipating. I edged toward the hallway, ready to block, ready to react. "You really think this will save you?" he asked, softly. "Tonight the house is mine. Every secret, every document. I get it all." I forced a laugh, sharp and hollow. "Not if I stop you first." He tilted his head, amused. "Ah, bold words won't save you." Lily's voice broke through my thoughts. "Dad," the basement handle again. "He's going for it." My stomach dropped. That basement held everything critical. I realized we had no choice now but to confront him directly. I whispered, "Stay behind me. We go together. No mistakes." She nodded, eyes wide but steady, trusting me completely. Thomas lunged suddenly toward the basement door, and I grabbed him, twisting, holding him back with every ounce of strength. He staggered slightly, caught off guard, but his smirk never faltered. "Nice try," he whispered, almost approvingly. "But cleverness only delays the inevitable." I knew then the fight wasn't just physical. It was a battle of minds, a chess game where one misstep could cost everything. I stepped back slightly, keeping my position between him and Lily. "You're not getting it," I said firmly. "Tonight, you leave empty-handed." He studied me for a moment, smirk fading slightly. Then his eyes sharpened. "You really think you can stop me? That little girl there, the locks, the walls, it won't matter. Nothing can stop me." My chest tightened. His confidence was terrifying, but I realized something crucial. He was showing only part of his plan. The rest, the dangerous part, was still hidden. The tension stretched, every second dragging, every heartbeat magnified. Thomas shifted his weight, eyes scanning the room, looking for the smallest sign of weakness. I held my ground, muscles tense, mind racing, calculating my next move. Every door, every shadow, every step mattered now. Lily stayed close, whispering observations, her presence both comforting and sobering. Then suddenly Thomas lunged, not for the safe, not for the closet, but toward me directly, forcing me to react instinctively. I grabbed him, twisting and holding him off, muscles burning from the effort. Lily screamed, clutching the note to her chest. The struggle was brief, but intense, buying us precious seconds, but I knew it wouldn't last long. He was too strong, too calculated, too relentless. He stepped back, smirk curling, breathing evenly. "Very clever," he muttered. "I admire that. But cleverness only delays the inevitable. You can't protect her forever, David. Sooner or later, I get what's mine." I swallowed, keeping my gaze locked on him. "Not tonight," I said. "Tonight, it ends differently." And in that instant, I realized that Christmas Eve, which had begun with cocoa and quiet prayers, had become a battle we could not afford to lose. The basement, the hall closet, the safe, they were all pieces of a dangerous puzzle, and we had to solve it before he did. Every second counted. Every move mattered. The fight had only just begun. Thomas's eyes never left mine, sharp and calculating, like a hawk sizing up its prey. I edged closer to the basement door, muscles coiled, every nerve screaming. Lily stayed tight behind me, clutching the note like it contained all the answers. "Dad, he's trying the basement again," she whispered, voice low but urgent. My chest tightened. That basement held the proof, the files, everything that could expose him. and if he reached it, all control would slip from our hands. I braced myself, pressing a hand against the basement door to block him. "Not tonight," I said, voice steady despite the adrenaline. Thomas tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he was determined to solve. "You really think you can stop me, David?" he asked softly, voice almost calm. "Every door, every lock. I know how to get past all of them." I clenched my fists. "Then I guess we'll see," I said quietly, keeping my voice steady, masking the panic inside. He stepped closer, deliberate, testing my reactions, every movement calculated. "I've always admired your stubbornness," he murmured, smirk curling at the edges of his lips. "But stubbornness doesn't change outcomes." Lily pressed herself closer, whispering, "Dad, he's looking at the mantel now. Watch him." I nodded subtly. He was studying everything. Our routines, our hiding spots, our reactions, anticipating every move before we could even make it. Thomas's hand hovered over the basement handle, testing, gauging. "You've been careful," he said softly. "I'll give you that, but caution only delays the inevitable. I always find what I'm looking for." I tightened my stance, muscles tensed, mind racing. This wasn't just about brute force. He was probing, measuring, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Lily's eyes darted around, scanning for possible exits, weaknesses, anything we could use. Suddenly he lunged, faster than I expected, reaching for the handle with his free hand. I reacted instantly, grabbing his wrist, twisting and forcing him backward. He staggered, caught off guard, but his smirk never faltered. "Clever," he muttered, almost admiringly. "Very clever. But cleverness only delays the inevitable." My muscles burned from holding him off, but I didn't let go. Lily gasped, pressing the note to her chest, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. I took a deep breath, calculating my next move. Thomas was strong, patient, relentless, but he had underestimated my resolve. "You're not getting it," I said firmly. "Tonight ends differently." His eyes narrowed, the amusement flickering briefly into something darker. "Bold words," he said softly, voice low, "but bold words won't stop me." "Not tonight." I edged slightly, keeping Lily safe behind me, while subtly positioning myself to cut off his path. Thomas studied me, reading every micro-movement, anticipating the smallest reaction. I realized then that this confrontation had become a psychological game, as much as a physical one. Each second stretched, thick with tension, every heartbeat amplified. He tilted his head, smirk returning. "You're predictable," he said softly. "I know how this will end." I forced myself to keep my gaze steady. "Then you're wrong," I said, voice low but firm. Lily pressed closer, whispering urgently, "Dad now. Do something before he reaches the basement." I nodded, realizing the moment had arrived. Thomas made another sudden move toward the basement, and I reacted instantly, pushing him back with all my strength. He staggered, nearly losing balance, but recovered quickly, smirk widening. "Ah, I like this," he said softly. "The fight, the struggle, it makes the victory sweeter." I clenched my jaw. He wasn't just trying to scare us, he was relishing the challenge, feeding off the tension, making every second stretch into torture. I pressed closer to the basement door, holding it tight, muscles trembling with effort. "You'll never get it," I said, voice steady. Despite the adrenaline coursing through me, he tilted his head, evaluating me, then stepped back, almost theatrically. "I see you've prepared," he said softly, smirk fading into something darker. "But preparation won't save you forever." I glanced at Lily. Her eyes were wide but steady. She understood now. This was no longer a game of intimidation. It was a battle for survival, for control, for the truth. The note in her hand had warned us, guided us, but now the test was immediate. I tightened my grip on the basement door, holding fast. Thomas took a slow step closer again, voice low, deliberate. I'll give you this, David. You're strong, patient. But strength only delays the inevitable. I always get what I want. I held my ground, refusing to flinch. Not tonight, I whispered, almost to myself, but loud enough for him to hear. He smirked, eyes glinting, clearly intrigued. Oh, we'll see about that, he said softly, almost conversationally. The basement door rattled under his hand. Snow drifted faintly in the crack from outside, swirling in dim light. Lily gasped, pressing the note to her chest. Dad, he's not stopping, she whispered. I braced myself. This was it. The moment everything could change, the fight, the confrontation, the evidence in that basement. It all came down to these next few seconds. Thomas lunged again, stronger this time, and I met him with every ounce of my strength. The struggle was brief, violent, tense, but I held him back, buying us crucial seconds. Lily pressed close, eyes wide, gripping the note, the basement, the safe, the documents. They were still ours to protect, but only barely. I realized then we couldn't hold him off forever. He stepped back, smirk never fading, breathing evenly. Clever, David, he said softly. But cleverness only delays the inevitable. You can't protect her forever. Sooner or later, I get what's mine. My chest burned from adrenaline, but I held firm, eyes locked on him. Not tonight, I said. Tonight it ends differently. And in that moment I knew the fight wasn't just for possessions or secrets. It was for control, for survival, for our lives. Thomas had underestimated one thing, our determination, our bond, our will to survive. And tonight we weren't going to lose. The basement door rattled violently under Thomas's hands, and I planted myself firmly in front of it, muscles taut, heart pounding. Lily pressed herself against my side, gripping the note as if it were a lifeline. Dad, he's not stopping, she whispered, voice trembling. I swallowed hard. He was relentless. And this wasn't just about the documents anymore. It was about control, about proving a point, about breaking us. Thomas's smirk never faltered as he circled slowly, studying every inch of the room, every shadow, every flicker of fear or hesitation. You're stronger than I thought, he said softly. Almost impressive. I held my ground, keeping my eyes locked on him, forcing him to react to me, not the other way around. Lily's eyes darted between us, every instinct screaming urgency. He stepped closer to the basement door, deliberate, testing my reactions. You've hidden a lot over the years, David, he said, voice soft but dangerous. But you forget. I always find what I'm looking for. I felt my stomach knot. He had always known, always anticipated, always been a step ahead. But tonight, I had something he didn't expect. Strategy, patience, and Lily's warning guiding every move. Thomas's hand brushed the door frame, slow, deliberate, as if savoring the moment. You know, I could take it all right now, he murmured. The documents, the proof, your clever little daughter, nothing would stop me. My chest tightened. Not tonight, I said. Voice low, steady, masking the panic rising in my veins. He smirked knowingly. We'll see about that. Suddenly he lunged. Not for the safe, not for the closet, but toward me directly. I reacted instantly, twisting and holding him back with every ounce of strength. Lily gasped, gripping the note tighter, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. The struggle was brief, violent, and exhausting, but it bought us the crucial seconds we needed. Thomas staggered back, smirk still curling at the edges of his lips. Clever, he muttered softly, almost approvingly. Very clever, but cleverness only delays the inevitable. I swallowed, muscles burning, but refused to let go. You're not getting it, I said firmly. Tonight it ends differently. He tilted his head, the amusement in his eyes flickering into something darker. "Bold words," he said, low and deliberate, "but bold words won't stop me, not tonight." I edged closer to the basement, positioning myself strategically between him and Lily, every movement deliberate. He studied me, calculating, probing for weakness. I realized then that the fight was as much psychological as it was physical. Every second stretched like a taut wire, every heartbeat amplified by tension. Lily stayed close, whispering observations, a steady presence amidst the chaos. Thomas's hand hovered over the basement handle again. "I've always admired your sense of order, David," he said softly. "Every hiding spot, every lock. Poetic, really." I clenched my jaw. His words weren't compliments. They were warnings. He had studied me, anticipated my moves, and tonight he was exploiting every weakness. Lily whispered urgently, "Dad, the basement, now." I braced myself, muscles coiled, every nerve on fire. Thomas lunged and I met him instantly, twisting, blocking, forcing him backward. The struggle was tense, every second a battle for dominance. Snow drifted in faintly from the crack of the basement door, swirling like tiny specters in the dim light. Thomas stumbled slightly, caught off guard, but his smirk never faltered. "Clever," he muttered. "But cleverness only delays the inevitable." I realized he was right. We couldn't hold him off forever. This was more than a fight. It was a battle of wits, timing, and courage. Lily pressed closer, eyes wide, clutching the note, silent but vigilant. He circled slowly, calculating, watching for an opening, eyes flicking toward every corner, every door. I edged toward the basement again, ready to intercept. "You really think you can stop me?" he asked, softly. "Every lock, every secret, I know them all." I held my ground, muscles taut. "Not tonight," I said firmly. Lily's small hand squeezed mine. She understood now we were in this together, and every second counted. Thomas lunged again, more forceful this time, and I met him head on. We grappled briefly, tense and desperate, each of us straining for advantage. I could feel the energy draining from me, but I couldn't let him reach that basement. Lily pressed closer, note in hand, eyes wide with terror and determination. Finally he stepped back slightly, smirk fading into a calculating stare. "Ah, persistent," he murmured. "I like that. But persistence only delays the inevitable. I always get what I want." I forced myself to keep steady, chest burning with adrenaline. "Not tonight," I whispered, heart pounding, in that heartbeat of silence. I realized something crucial. Thomas wasn't just after the safe or the documents. He wanted control, dominance, fear. He wanted to prove he could bend us to his will. And the basement, the evidence that was just the stage for his game. I took a slow, deliberate breath, focusing on the pattern, on the rhythm of his movements. Lily mirrored me, silent but alert. We were ready. And in that instant, I knew the next move would determine everything. The basement door, the safe, the documents. They were more than objects now. They were the key to surviving Thomas's night of chaos. With a final glance at Lily, I whispered, "Stay close, watch everything. When I say go, we act." Thomas's eyes flicked between us, smirk returning, sensing the challenge, relishing it. But he hadn't seen the plan forming in my mind, hadn't anticipated the moment when we would finally take control. The stage was set. The basement was the battlefield. And Christmas Eve, which had begun so peacefully, had turned into a night of survival, revelation, and reckoning. Thomas's eyes gleamed with anticipation as he advanced toward the basement once more, each step measured, deliberate, radiating confidence. I planted myself firmly in front of the door, muscles taut, heart hammering. Lily stayed pressed against me, the note clutched tightly, her small fingers trembling but steady. "Dad. He's going for it," she whispered, urgency laced with fear. I nodded subtly. This was it. The moment everything depended on our next moves. Thomas's smirk widened, but there was a flicker of calculation in his eyes. You've made it difficult, David, he said softly. Almost conversational, but difficult is temporary. I always win eventually. I forced my gaze to meet his, every nerve on edge. Not tonight, I said, voice low but firm. Tonight it ends differently. His smirk twitched, not of amusement, but interest. He liked a challenge. Without warning, he lunged. I met him instantly, gripping his arms, pushing back with every ounce of strength. The struggle was intense, every muscle straining, every second stretching like eternity. Lily's eyes were wide, fixed on us, the note pressed to her chest as if it contained a lifeline. I realized then that this fight wasn't just physical, it was psychological, strategic, and a test of willpower. Thomas staggered back slightly, smirk never fading. Clever, he muttered softly. Very clever. But cleverness only delays the inevitable. I gritted my teeth. He was right. We couldn't hold him off forever. But I had a plan. Lily's note had guided us, pointing out the subtle signs, the traps, the weak points we could exploit. It was our only hope. I edged toward the basement door, positioning myself to intercept him at every angle. You want control? I said quietly, locking eyes with him. You'll have to take it from me. His eyes flicked toward the door, then back to me. Bold words, he said. Low, deliberate, but bold words won't stop me. He lunged again, faster this time, and I reacted instinctively, twisting and forcing him back. Lily pressed close, whispering, Dad, the handle. Now, I seized the moment. With a sudden shove, I forced Thomas off balance, sending him staggering slightly. In that split second, I yanked the basement door open and pulled Lily behind me. The basement light flickered on, revealing stacks of boxes, files, and the safe that held the proof of Thomas's manipulations, the evidence he had tried so hard to control. Thomas's eyes widened, but his smirk never vanished. Impressive, he said softly, almost approvingly. I underestimated you. Clever, very clever. I didn't respond, my focus solely on securing the basement and keeping Lily safe. Every movement mattered. Every second could determine the outcome. I moved quickly, pulling the safe open, heart racing, knowing that within it lay the keys to exposing him. Thomas advanced slowly, deliberately, every step calculated. David, he murmured, voice low and dangerous, you think that changes anything? Etc. Phoning that safe doesn't change what's coming. You can't outrun me. I swallowed hard, refusing to show fear. Maybe not, I said quietly. But it changes everything for you. The documents spilled onto the floor. Letters, receipts, proof of lies, manipulations, and secrets Thomas had kept hidden for decades. Lily's eyes widened as she scanned the evidence. Dad, this is it. This is everything, she whispered, voice trembling. I nodded, heart pounding. Yes, I said. Now we have the leverage. Now we can end this. Thomas's smirk faltered slightly as he realized the shift. His confidence wavered for the first time. You actually did it, he muttered softly. You've turned the game around. Clever, very clever. But even as he spoke, I saw the calculation returning. He wasn't done. He never was. I stepped forward, documents in hand, keeping a firm line between him and Lily. This ends tonight, I said firmly. You've had your chance. All these years, all the secrets. It stops here. No more control. No more lies. Thomas's eyes flickered, a mix of admiration and fury. You think you've won? He hissed. Not yet, but you've made it interesting. Lily held my hand tightly, whispering, Dad, we can do this. Together. I nodded, squeezing her hand, feeling the strength in our bond. Together, I repeated. Thomas took a step back, calculating, realizing that this was more than just a physical battle. He had lost control, and for the first time he was on the defensive. I moved closer, holding the documents high. Everyone will know tonight, I said firmly. All the lies, the manipulation, it ends here. Thomas's smirk vanished completely, replaced by a flicker of fear. He had underestimated our resolve, our determination, our connection, and tonight, that was his undoing. For a moment, silence fell over the basement, thick and tense. Thomas's gaze swept over the room, over the evidence, over Lily and me. Then he stepped back, voice low, almost defeated. You've changed the rules, he said softly. I didn't see that coming. Clever. Very clever. I didn't respond, keeping my focus on the evidence and on keeping Lily safe. Finally, I took a deep breath, heart still pounding, and whispered, "It's over. Tonight, you lose." Thomas's shoulders slumped slightly, smirk gone, as if the weight of decades of manipulation and control had finally lifted. For the first time he looked uncertain, and in that moment I knew we had won. The snow outside continued to fall silently, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. Christmas Eve, which had begun with cocoa and quiet prayers, had become a night of revelation, survival, and reckoning. But now, with the documents in our hands and Thomas defeated, we had reclaimed control. Lily pressed close, eyes wide but relieved. Together we had survived the night, and finally the truth would come to light. And as I closed the basement door behind us, heart still racing, I realized one thing: some Christmases are more than lights and cocoa. Some Christmases are battles. Some Christmases reveal the hidden truths that define families forever. Tonight was one of those Christmases.